Hey there! This video is about being empowered into the holiday season, and if you get triggered around family or loved ones around this time every year, then this video is for you, and I hope it helps you. And this is just my experience, and I'd love to share it with you. So there's 4 different things that I want to talk about. One is empowerment. The second is kindness. And there's a practice around that about how to hold your emotions, which will help you to, before you get into the situation, to be sort of knowledgeable about yourself. And that will help you also get to the third thing, which is to be assertive. And the fourth thing is to appreciate and be grateful for anything that there actually is, which will allow you to take home or to have the sweetness of the loved ones and the family. All right, so empowerment. So all of this is about how you could take responsibility of your own feelings that are happening, and that is actually a very powerful way to be in a good place for yourself and for others. In empowerment, it's like it's accessing power that we actually have. We might want to change the world around us or the people around us, and there's only so much that we can change. And really, it's when we really are being good to ourselves and knowing what we actually need from a very positive place, that others are more easily able to accommodate us. And then maybe in your family or with your loved ones, it's not possible, and it might be a little more challenging than that. And even then, this might help you. All right, so that's about empowerment. And the next thing is kindness. So kindness in gentleness, softness, these things I'm talking about because we want to actually be able to be kind to ourselves. We want to be able to allow ourselves to really be naturally who we are, and to be able to see that, so to be aware of actually who we are. And when there's triggers going on, when we're, let's say, in the holiday season with family, and we are feeling in negative things, and we're having to deal with all of that, we could actually, if we know that these are the same things that happen all the time, we can practice it beforehand to give ourselves an emotional space to know our emotions, to work through them, so that they're not coming up in the moment and like somehow that we're needing to deal with them in that moment only. So this is a practice that I'm going to talk now about, where you really need this kindness towards yourself, so that you can allow whatever is coming up and what your truth is, that it can come up, and that you can be the one who sees it, who genuinely respects yourself, and and that'll actually provide the energy for others to be more, to be okay around that, to also appreciate you for that. Now, it may not happen straight away, but that is actually where it starts. So here is this practice of how to give yourself emotional space. Oops. Then now when you want to do this, you want to practice it beforehand, and you want to maybe sit down, maybe you want to light a candle. It's not absolutely necessary, but it might help you to keep your focus on yourself and what you're actually doing. And you want to breathe deeply into your body. You want to feel your body deeply. And you can check, what am I feeling right now? You can see if you have bodily sensations. You can see if you have feeling sensations. If you don't really have a strong emotion, you might want to remind yourself of a time that you were triggered that easily gets you heated, and then you can feel into that. So how emotions go is that they go in kind of waves. So with a wave, it's always changing, it's always moving in the moment. So you want to, when this is happening, when you're having emotions at any time, but now it's a practice, right? So when you're having that, you want to help yourself and maybe talk to yourself and say, it's safe and it's natural, because it is natural. All emotions are natural. You can't stop yourself from having an emotion. So you're letting these emotions actually flow naturally, and you're following the sense of them, and you're also allowing yourself to feel that it's changing. So saying like, oh, at every moment I can feel something anew. Never tell yourself what emotion you should be feeling, because that's actually not helping you to feel safe. So in our childhoods, it's actually pretty normal with the kinds of cultures that we have, that emotions tend to be either repressed or rejected, or especially the negative ones like anger and fear or sadness. So you want to really allow yourself and practice with yourself to say things that would help you to really let these emotions flow. So they usually will change from state to state. So like from anger to sadness, maybe there's fear somewhere and you might shoot back into one, and then from there you might get to disappointment. You might get to feeling like, oh, this is actually the truth of me. This is actually the way that I felt about this situation, and I wasn't able to express it, which is why it's triggering me all the time. It's very important to take your truth, whatever your emotions are conveying to you. It's not necessarily the ultimate truth, but it is a truth for you. So it is important for you to listen to that. You might want to write it down. You might want to just take a mental note. It happens a lot that we might have a truth, let's say, I really don't like what that person said to me. And then we might think, I'm just giving an example of what might happen, is that we might reject ourselves in that moment. Like I might think, I don't like what that person said to me in that moment or did, and then say, no, you're not allowed to not like what that person said because they sounded right. So it doesn't mean that in that situation that there is one thing is right and one thing is wrong, but you want to really hear what the emotion is saying without discarding like other, real world things. You want to be sure that you know what your body is saying that it feels about this, and hold that truth close to you. You are getting to know yourself then. And please don't reject yourself. Please be kind. Yeah. In the relationship with yourself, kindness is such a deep treasure that just helps with so many things. So whatever happens in this emotional process, even if you get stuck somewhere, if you get overwhelmed somewhere, come back to the kindness to yourself. And it may also help you to have a sense of neutrality about what's going on. And this is something that you can practice with meditation. that sense of neutrality is something that's a little bit outside of the heat of emotions, and from that space you can actually kind of always go back and see what is actually happening, and just keep an eye on yourself so that you're not getting kind of lost in the emotions. If you do tend to get lost or overwhelmed by the things, try writing it down so that you want to have a little bit of a distance to it. If you're someone, on the other hand, who has a hard time really feeling anything, then you might want to actually exaggerate the feeling and see where that takes you. At the end of this whole practice, you want to be able to step back. You might have naturally come to a neutral feeling, and if you didn't, then don't take too long with it. But then, like, if it's like a maximum of 1 or 2 hours, I would say, then give yourself some space and say, okay, now I take a step back and tell yourself it's okay, you're okay, you're doing well. Be appreciative of yourself for going through all that. Holding emotions is such a deep wisdom there is in it, and it's really something that I feel that humanity as a whole is trying to figure out. If we were all processing our emotions in a healthy way, we wouldn't actually have the extremities of emotions on the outside as much as we do today. So that would be good, right? And empowerment is just that we can do the thing. We can be the change in the world. And you would not believe the ripple effect that has of being the change. So I wish you so much luck with that, and let me know how that is for you. I can share more about that. For now, I want to go on to the part of assertiveness. So I read this story from a psychologist, and I found it so very interesting because this story is about actually super dysfunctional families. So there might be a whole lot of trauma that has happened, but actually I see that it is in also places from people who don't consider their family very dysfunctional. So just letting you know that, have a broad view while I'm talking about this. And it's about this assertiveness, and that how people tend to being assertive is something very healthy, right? It means you're able to convey to someone else in an open way what your boundaries are, what you want, what you like, what you need, and you're actually creating a space where the other person can meet you. And you can have a conversation about it to see, okay, how do we create a win-win situation? Like, I want this, you want that. How let's come together and have the intention to come out of this with something new and good for the both of us. Now, when there is a lot of people actually find it very difficult to be assertive. I know I am really in a learning process with this. But when you hear it, right, it's very natural, and it would be like, oh, great. If something goes wrong, we'll talk about it and we'll figure it out. Now, when fights happen and, people are triggered and you call each other names or anything like that, or harsh feelings. What the story was about that this psychologist was talking about is that when people aren't actually able to be assertive, then they actually tend to either reject or be aggressive, which is also to put space between them and someone else or a situation. Or they'll go to the other side and be overly dramatic, and maybe they'll get very emotional and they'll say, oh, it's your fault that I'm so emotional, you're abusing me, and you're, you know, and if you look closely, they might not actually be changing anything about the situation. They're actually trying to get the other person to see how emotional they are. Now, I've been in all of these situations. I've been actually the person doing that. So just saying, it can happen. Once you get conscious of it, then just try and find a better way, right? Can't blame yourself for not knowing before. Okay, so this emotionality might be like sort of saying you're a victim when actually there's not really that much happening in that moment. If you are a victim, by the way, then make sure you get help. But if it's like something that's repeating year after year and people aren't actually trying to change their situation, aren't trying to do that from an empowered place, like being aware of what they're actually contributing to it, what's underlying all of that is that there is this sense of unworthiness. Now, unworthiness might make someone feel like they don't actually have the power to change their situation, and it could be the reason why they're blaming everyone or have bitter feelings about things. But I think when you go through this emotional process and you really practice being kind and compassionate with yourself, then imagine how maybe you're the one that is feeling unworthy, but how heartbreaking that is, right? When there's no kindness, we might not even be able to say, I actually feel very unworthy. And if someone said that and you're kind, wouldn't you just, doesn't that just break your heart? So I guess I'm trying to say is, I think it takes a lot to learn to be assertive when you come from a background where that was never shown in healthy ways. So yay, all of us who are trying to do that, right? And yay for any moment anyone tries to, not be in any of those extremes and just is trying, And that actually brings me to my last point, which is appreciation and gratitude. I have noticed that my loved ones and the people who have known me all of my life, they are so precious to me. Sometimes I'm not maybe the family member that's very difficult, and I obviously think that they're the ones, which is why I'm now making this video to say that I'm trying to now be self-empowered. So what I want to say is that the people who know you all your life, they probably have a deep imprint on your hearts and your feelings. And if you are able to, I would say, take the time to have space to see the beauty that might be going on, to appreciate good things. For example, I noticed that there weren't a lot of compliments being given in my situation, and there was a lot of criticism. So I looked at when someone would do something and I thought, wow, they really worked hard, that I would tell them, I am so appreciative of how, wow, you did all of this. Amazing, genuinely. And that goes a long way. That feels very good to other people, and they might actually start reflecting back to you like, thank you, reflecting back appreciation. And this is a part of love, right? And what I want to say actually is that if you're able to see the sweetness that there is even if so many things are going wildly, that you feel are negative. And I don't mean abuse yourself. Please don't think that. But if you're trying to self-empower, to be empowered yourself, and you have the space and the time to see, for example, if there's children in your family, or if there's people who are older and passing on, or, just catching that glimpse when there's a positive moment, and then strengthening that. Maybe you decide to speak to that if you feel that it would actually help. And you might say, wow, I saw how you or this person, how you did that. And that's that's something I appreciate about you. So you might also need to practice some some positive wording, first to yourself, then to others. And what I want to say is that I have noticed how these people, when you can have positive moments with them, you will feel that so deeply. And so I wish for you that in this holiday season, that whatever you can do from your self-empowerment, even if it's just a practice of you doing the work, of being kind to yourself and not trying to change anyone, because you're just letting them be who they are. And sometimes people just need to feel like they can be who they are. And if you don't feel like your family and those people are the people for you, and that you actually need to be able to have other people around you, find those people, make it a priority, because you do need people to appreciate you too. And we need kindness and kind people. Yeah, and lastly, I just want to say, take the time. If you have it, take the time to do the exercise, to look into what kind of landmines you might walk across, and try to disable them within you. Do the best you can. So take the time, have the space. Don't be rushed because you feel like maybe if I just rush through it, I won't have to deal with so much. If you're gonna do this, try and give yourself also the time, because feeling is slower than thoughts. To feel things, you need to slow down. All right? Okay. So I hope this is helpful for you. If you have any comments, please let me know. If you found something, if you have an experience because of this, then please let me know. It'd be great to have some feedback. And thanks for watching, and I wish you a beautiful holiday season wherever you are, in whatever form that you celebrate. Yeah, blessings to you. Bye.